Hey guys, Tara Ryan here. And today's tip from Tara is what you need to know about seller concessions and the questions I'm getting about the NAR settlement and can we roll in agent compensation into the loan? So let's get into it. Look, we're here. The deadline is approached, so things will be changing here in our market. And so I'm getting a lot of questions from real estate agents of, hey, what are lenders doing to help accommodate this? Can we just roll the compensation, what used to be the commission, into the loan amount? Is it that simple? It's not that simple. But let's talk through what it could look like. So obviously, if you determine that a particular seller is offering a buyer's brokerage compensation, then nothing changes, right? You guys can proceed on the transaction, assuming that that compensation offered by the seller is at least what the buyer's broker is expecting per their agreement with the buyer, then it's nothing changes, right? It's just commission, compensation, and it's handled separately from anything on the loan. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if we have a situation where the seller is offering compensation, but it's less than what the buyer has committed to pay the buyer's brokerage, then the buyer needs to make up that net. Okay. And then, of course, the third example, if the seller is just adamant, hey, we're not offering any compensation to the buyer's brokerage, period, and the buyer needs to bring those funds. Well, what would happen? Well, a couple of things. One option would be we could just increase the loan amount. We could help the buyer by just borrowing more money. So that is rolling it into the loan. But there's limits as to when we could do that. Okay. The minimum down payment for a first-time home buyer on a conventional loan is 3%. We can't do any less. So if they're already expecting to only bring 3% to the down payment, I don't have any room to increase the loan amount. And so in that case, we would not be able to roll it in. Our best option in that case would be to go back to the seller, offer a little bit more for the home in exchange for a seller concession or seller paying the compensation even though they didn't originally offer it, right? If, however, the buyer was coming to the transaction planning to do 10% down, the seller's not offering anything, and we need to come up with the 3% to pay the buyer's brokerage, then we could simply do it as a 93% loan instead of a 90% loan. For most buyers, it's a very small difference to their monthly payment. The mortgage insurance would change a small amount. However, it's a very reasonable solution to accomplish what we're trying to do. And that is the way when people say they're rolling the commission into the loan, that's what they're doing, right? So whenever we have really 10% down or more on a conventional loan, we do have the option to roll it in. And it's something that I can be talking with the buyers about up front as part of the pre-approval after we get our feet under us of what this is going to look like. What about the situation where the seller does not agree to pay any compensation to the buyer's brokerage? Okay. And in fact, they are willing, however, to offer a seller concession towards closing costs. That's when we get into limits on the maximum amount of third-party contributions. We call them IPCs, interested party contributions, what you might think of as seller concessions. There are limits on those amounts depending on loan type and down payment. We hardly ever see this limit hit on VA and FHA loans. The VA is all reasonable and customary closing costs, so there's not a specific percentage limit. FHA is 6%, which is a pretty large amount, and we hardly ever hit that limit. And we may not even hit it even if we were compensating the buyer's brokerage 3% through FHA. Conventional, however, with small down payments is limited to 3% seller concessions. So if your buyer is only doing 3 or 5% down, the total amount of seller concessions they can get is limited to 3%. So we don't have a way to do the closing costs and the buyer's brokerage compensation. Investment properties are always a challenge on seller contributions. They've always been limited to 2%, and I see agents forgetting that all the time. Guys, we've got a cheat sheet on maximum seller contributions. I'm happy to send it out to you. Just comment below, send it, and we will get it out to you so that you have that information handy for you. But I want to end with this. It's going to be okay. We've been through major transitions before. Certainly, we have on the lending industry. In my 20 years, I have seen many massive changes occur in our industry, and we all adapt. We'll reach a new equilibrium. It will be painful for a little while as we're figuring it all out, but let's all take a breath, be calm and respectful for each other, and let's figure it out together. We want to be here to help you and to be a partner with you through this process, and that includes being very thorough in the pre-approval upfront of thinking through some of these scenarios as your partner. So as always, please give us a call. We're here to help.